Hey, it's Charles with Anderson Custom Woodcraft, and today we're going to be making a Jatoba, maple, and purple heart cutting board with a tricky juice groove. Stick around. So the first thing to do is cut a piece of wood to length. Jatoba is going to be the base wood, so I start with that. And an inadvertent benefit of this lumber rack I designed is you can slide a piece out and cut it to length. Here I'm using a planer sled to get one flat side on this crooked piece of Jatoba. In the background there you can see me using the flat surface of my table saw to ensure that the sled is going to be flat, which means that the Jatoba will end up being flat. After the first layer of oxidized wood is removed, it is extremely difficult to see if the wood is flat or not, so scribing a pencil line can show you where you need to plane more. The dust going through your dust collection system can actually create static electricity, and this is a cool shot of it grounding to the planer. After cleaning up both sides, I square up one of the other sides on the table saw using the same sled. And after that side is done, I can take it off of the jig and clean up the other side. I'm going to be doing an off-centered accent strip made of the Purple Heart maple on this piece. So after cutting about a third off, I need to rip down this piece of Purple Heart right down the middle. And then I can feed the larger piece through, and I can make sure they're the same size. Cutting down this thin piece of maple is actually going to reduce the height of it on the cutting board. It will be turned on its edge as a thin accent piece. These accent pieces are then cut to an approximate length, which will be cleaned up later. After that, I can put all the pieces together, get a rough measurement, and realize I need to trim off a little bit of the larger piece of Jatoba. Once I do that, I can assemble all these in clamps and get an idea what the final product will look like. Getting all these separate pieces into clamps all at once is an almost impossible task, but once that's done, we're ready for glue. I would really recommend this silicone roller. I believe it's from Rockler. Just goes right on the top of your bottle. And it just makes spreading out the glue very, very easy. Cleaning up the excess glue makes your life much easier later when you send this through the planer. You won't have little glue bumps getting in your way. After ensuring that this is flat, I can move on to testing out a juice groove for the first time. Since this is a curved juice groove to echo the curve of the corners of the board, I can't just make a juice groove jig like you have probably seen before. If I were to use external bumpers like most guides for a juice groove, this would create a squared corner, so I have to use the roundness of the base plate to actually get the round corner. All went well with the tests, so after a quick planing, I can cut the cutting board to length. After putting a perfect radius on a test piece, I use that as a template to get perfect radiuses on the cutting board as well. A quick sanding just cleans up the router marks and we're ready for the juice groove. After cutting down my template to size, I need to find a way to attach it. I found the best way was to put a piece of sandpaper underneath, check every clamp I had, find out none of them were long enough, and then use a bridge clamp. After routing a few passes, everything was going pretty well, but because I used a bridge clamp, I had to move everything around, and this is where everything went wrong. I actually had to cut off a piece and retry and make it. After doing that, I was successful and had a lot of hand sanding to do in that juice groove. I had heard that a 1/8 inch round over was a lot better looking than a round over done by hand, so I decided to test that out on this piece. I'm not completely sold on it, but it is something I will be trying to do in the future. I always prefer a 45-degree chamfer on the bottom. That helps you pick it up, especially with the feet I use, and that's what I'm doing. With my cutting boards, I like to sand the top, then the edges, and then the bottom. And then after that, I like to sand the top again. This ensures that the top is the last thing sanded after moving it around so much. I like to attach the feet about 1.5 inches in. That allows a hidden look for the feet, but it's still very sturdy when on the counter. The last thing it needs is some mineral oil, followed by some cutting board goo. I like to do a coat of just mineral oil to help clean the wood, and it also is quite beautiful to do. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and please consider checking out my other videos and subscribing. Thanks.